Last night, crypto prices once again crashed back down. Some altcoins actually going lower than where they went just a couple of days ago. Bitcoin still staying above 80K, but there's some major signals flashing right now on the charts, in the news, in the sentiment that are giving us very different views of what could happen. What is going on right now in crypto? Are we in the middle of a bear market, or are the bears about to get trapped out once again? Stick around for the entire episode as I break down a whole lot of details about what's going on in this very confusing market and give you the plan that I am using to navigate all of the chaos. But with that said, first, it's weird because I'm doing this by myself, but I gotta roll an intro. All right, before we get going in here, guys, make sure to go ahead and smash the like buttons, hit subscribe. Let me know, how is the internet performing? I have a storm going on where I am, and so there's a chance that stuff is not going very well. Again, there's a storm right now with the internet. Oh, yeah, I see what's going on there. It's very blurry, isn't it? You guys can hear me, can't you? But you just can't see me very well. Oh, this is not choice. This is not choice very much whatsoever. Again, I do apologize. There is a storm going through right now, and hopefully it clears up my internet. But until that happens, yeah, that is sucky. All right, well, guess what, guys? For today's video, you're going to watch me be very blurry. Hopefully the internet clears out and it gets better as we go. But we got to go through a lot of different details here. Hopefully the charts are not that bad. Let's share a chart real quick and see what that is looking like this morning. Let's see if that's clearer for you guys. We're going to be looking at a lot of things on the charts, a lot of different time frames. And let me see. I'm going to wait to see if this looks better on the YouTube side. Oh, man. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Good stuff. Good stuff going on here. And it's not even showing my screen. It's not even showing my screen. Give me 1 second here, guys. Let me try to mess with something really quickly. Because it's not even, you guys can see the black screen right now. It's not even sharing what I'm doing. Well, that's not choice. All right. Let's see if that makes it any better here. We're going to take a look at a lot of different things today. One of the things we're looking at here on the chart, it was giving me a little bit of delay. I think it's better now. One thing we're going to look at the chart is, of course, last night, Bitcoin did bounce on the zone we previously have drawn. Again, there's a CME gap that happened a couple of weeks ago. And we have come back down into that zone. Will we end up closing this complete CME gap? Will we go even lower? But before we get into those details, we're probably going to stay on this screen because it looks like my camera cleared up a little bit. It's gone back and forth, being clear and being fuzzy. But we're going to take a look at what are some of the reasons why crypto is crashing. One of the biggest things that people are blaming this on is recent news coming out of Canada, where Mark Carney, ever heard of him? I hadn't heard of him whatsoever. But Mark Carney was just elected as the next Prime Minister of Canada. Now, some interesting details here. Again, at first I was like, well, did they even have time for an election to take place? It turns out somehow, some way they had an election take place. He got in a whopping 131,674 votes. In a country with 42 million people, he had 131,000 votes. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. But what I'm seeing already is Mark Carney might be even worse than Trudeau. Did Canada downgrade in their elected official? Again, elected is a loose term there with a very quick election and Very small amount of people actually casting votes. By the way, his 131,000 votes was 86% of the votes that were totally casted. So yeah, Canadians, my friends, let me know in the comments, how are you guys feeling about this as a whole? Another thing I'm watching today is Crypto Fear and Greed Index last night. I expected this to dip a little lower, and I have a couple of views on what this is, but we came back down to 20, right? So we're back in extreme fear here for Bitcoin and crypto as a whole. The question, however, is this low enough? Of course, we know last week we got back down to 10 for the first time in a long time. We had not been at 10 since the bottom of the bear market back in 2022. Now we're still in extreme fear, but we only fell to 20. Something I am curious about this, though, with the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, you will notice from time to time, the bottom doesn't necessarily come in when you get the 10. Sometimes it's the higher bottoms that end up being that case. For example, the 10 or the lower than 10 that we got was July of 2022. If you go back to Bitcoin's chart, let's go to the daily chart here. You're going to notice that July was not the bottom for the Bitcoin bear market. If I go all the way back, it did not go to the daily chart for me. There we go. If you go back here, July of 2022 could have been the bottom. If FTX had not collapsed, would have been the bottom. But the real bottom of the bear market was here in November. Yet when I look at the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, this plummet that happened in 2022 was June, July. And then by the time we actually get to the bottom, we'd been bouncing here on the, guess what, the 20. So this is going to be a confusing little signal right here. Are we right now witnessing kind of a repeat of that move? Are we seeing a repeat of former moves where we still have a lot further to go to the downside? I'm going to get into all of that. But something I want to prepare you for is, why are we, despite the fact that last night's fear, chaos was so bizarre, and we almost came back down to the same lows. If we go back over to the charts here, we almost came back down to the same lows that we were at just not that long ago, back here on February 28th. Well, guess what? That actually could be a positive sign, because the sentiment is of people who are actively participating, and a lot of people sold out last week. A lot of people capitulated last week. I'm talking about people, I say retail investors. A lot of retail investors capitulated last week. They have not been a part of any of this move. So now there's less people voting in on these polls. Could that be a positive sign? It's time to go through the charts, though, and look at the good, the bad, the ugly, because I'm going to be very, very honest with you guys. What's happening right now, this honestly could be a bear trap. There's a lot of evidence to say that we could tick back to the upside, but the truth is there's also a lot of evidence that says we could have a lot further to go to the downside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out the evidence for you. I'm going to lay out the bearishness. I'm going to lay out the bullishness. I'm going to give you some quick takes and thoughts about them, and then I'm going to pretty much leave it up to you guys. I'm going to tell you my opinion at the end of today's show, but I'm going to leave it up to you to decide, what do you want to do with your cryptocurrency. This is a good time to remind people. We have been screaming this for a long time now here at the Investing Bros channel. Do not overinvest. Do not invest more money in the markets than you can afford to lose. Why is that? Because if crypto does crash even further, if we do go sub 70K, if we do go down, let's say to 45, I'm going to show you on the chart something that could be interesting about 45. Let's say 30. Will that ruin you financially? If the answer to that question is yes, you are overinvested in crypto, my friends. Do not be selling your kidneys, your livers, which you can't sell your liver. Do not be selling putting a new mortgage on your house to go buy more crypto. That is bad financial advice. Whoever's telling you to do that should be quiet, because that's terrible advice. However, if you can hold on, because of the chance that we end up rebounding and going back to the upside, I think that is something that you absolutely should be doing right now. But let's go through the different time frames. I'm going to start all the way down here on Bitcoin at the 1 hour time frame. Yes, we broke out of a symmetrical triangle pattern to the downside. I caught a quick short here yesterday. I did trade it back down towards 80K, and then I went and bought the 80K dip. So at the moment, that's looking like a decent little trade, little setup right there, but we will see. I definitely feel like there's a chance we go lower, but let's just examine what's going on here with the 1 hour chart. Last night, we did bottom out on the RSI. We got well below the 30 line, all the way down to 17. The MACD crossed bullish. We got ourselves a nice little buy signal on the Lux Algo Oscillator with these reversals, the bullish divergence, the bullish momentum. And then for a while there, we had positive money flow, right? So that was a quick little buy signal on the 1 hour chart. Notice right now, the money is flowing back out. That's not completely bearish. It's just something to be aware of. Well, guess what? We sufficed what the 1 hour chart was asking about. We came up, we got into the 1 hour smart trail. So this was a successful little trade. The question is, do we keep going to the upside? But I'm going to talk about the 1 hour right now, saying last night it was bullish. Last night it gave us a great opportunity to go ahead and buy the dip short term, to have a short term long, a scalp long, and it has played out very beautifully. Now let's keep moving up, because that would mean that 1 hour right now is neutral. It's done everything it's supposed to do. By the way, if you guys are just joining, I apologize about my camera. There's a storm going on right now. My Wi-Fi is weak. For some reason, it's mostly just affecting my camera. I have no idea why that is. So stick with me. Hopefully you guys can hear me very clearly and everything is okay there. Let's keep going on, though, and look at the 4 hour chart. What's going on here? We hit some take profit levels here on the 4 hour chart. Very, very nicely right there. When you take a look at the oscillator, it looks like we are about to enter a buy signal on the 4 hour chart, where we have green reversal, bullish momentum, and you zoom in here, that money flow looks like it wants to cross above that bearish threshold. It hasn't officially happened just yet, so let's not go crazy here. But to back this up, it does look like the RSI bottomed out below 30. It does look like the MACD wants to cross bullish again. If we can keep this momentum and jump above that 1 hour smart trail, let me remind you where that is. We're kind of looking here around 84,500, right? That's a little bit of a feat. We're at 82.8 right now, but if we can get back above 84.5, all of a sudden, I do think the next target you're watching is the smart trail of the 4 hour chart, and we're kind of in this camp around 88,600, give or take, okay? 88,600, you're going to see that's where, actually, you go up to 90K, that's where our equilibrium is here on our price action concepts. But overall, right now, the 4 hour chart is a bullish chart. We need some further confirmation on the 1 hour to make this move go to the upside, but it is bullish. However, again, I want to be very open and just lay out all the details for you. This only sends us back up on the 4 hour chart being bullish, back up here towards 90K. After that, there's a very real chance, you could see that the 4 hour chart rejects. We just come back down and we go lower. Okay. But so far, the 1 hour was bullish. It's kind of neutral now. The 4 hour is bullish. We're waiting on some confirmation, but let's keep working our way up. Let's make a jump all the way up to the daily chart. And this is something I told you guys last week. Last week, the daily chart, if I can grab this correctly, the daily chart did flash a buy signal for the first time since September of 2024. The last time we had a buy signal, we took off to the upside and would shoot to new all-time highs. Will that happen again? We'll have to wait and see. Not so quickly, though. But what you want to know here is a couple of very big details going on with the oscillators. Big reasons to be excited. The RSI crashed last week here below 25, and yet this recent dip only came down to 35, right? So we put in a higher low on our RSI. Same thing going on with MACD. Same thing going on with our Lux Algo Oscillator. Now, the Lux Algo Oscillator last week put in a green reversal, bullish momentum, and the money flow gate came above the bearish line. The bubble, the excessive sellers left, that bubble popped. We started to move back towards the upside. This is all very good stuff. I told you guys, don't be surprised, though, for a manipulated move to bring price action back down towards this level. This part is not surprising. It's when I get to the higher time frames that I start to have some concerns, okay? But what you need to know is when you see this higher low in price action, but looking at the candle body closes, that's the key detail here, we are seeing a lower close, a lower low on the daily chart. You might be saying, Tim, what do you mean? No, last week we were all the way down here at 78,200. That's not a lower low. Just so you guys know, the oscillators respond to candle body closes, not to candle body or not to candle wicks, right? So when you're looking at RSI divergence, whether it's bullish or it's bearish, you always want to look at candle closes. And last week, the lowest close since back in November was $84,000 Yesterday, we closed at 80,600. That is a lower low confirmed. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as long as today's candle closes bullish, right? If we crash and come back down lower, this will continue. But right now, we have a bullish white candle. If that closes the daily bullish, we have ourselves daily bullish divergence. That's a good sign, right? With that buy signal, guess what that says? We're kind of looking at that same camp, 91K, maybe even back up here as high as 94.9, but still that puts us, didn't want to do that one, still puts us below this descending trend line. As I clear up the chart so you guys can see it more clearly, it still puts us in this lower high trajectory where we're in a bearish trend. So the daily chart is bullish, just like the 4-hour chart. This is a good sign. I do expect some sort of relief to come very, very soon. But again, that's the question though. Is this a bear market or a bear trap? I'm going to try to speed up here a little bit. The 2-daily chart, bullish. We got a confirmed buy signal, green reversal, bullish momentum, positive money flow. Guess where that's telling us we could get to here on the 2-daily chart? That's saying, hey guys, we very well could get away from 95, maybe even up here as high as 98. But all of this staying below that very crucial level I told you last week, 100,000. If we break these levels and move to the upside, again, that would be awesome. I would love to see it. We would start to move back up towards and potentially create brand new all-time highs. But for now, you're watching these smart trails, even on these charts, like the 2-daily, the daily, the 4-hour, they're bullish, but they're still putting in lower highs with their price trajectories of where we can get to. Now, we're going to move on here and we're going to start talking about some things that are not so bullish. I kind of just laid out some things that look good, some reasons to think that we more than likely will get back up above 90K, whether we're in a bear market or if this is a bear trap. But there are some things that I think people should be aware of that are concerning. The weekly chart, neutral, right? We had a good sell signal on the weekly chart. We had the bearish divergence. Everything came crashing back down. We have bounced off that smart trail already. Could we go a little bit lower? Could we come all the way to 77.4? Could we come actually all the way to 76.2 and still be on support of that weekly smart trail? We absolutely could. But right now, it's done everything it's supposed to. And I do believe if you take a look here as well, we have now, again, assuming that this weekly candle ends up closing bullish. We'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. But you can see here, the RSI has put in a slightly lower low. The price action, though, clearly a higher low. Do we potentially have weekly bullish divergence? I would say the weekly chart is neutral, potentially leaning bullish. What concerns me is I go a little higher, though. This is where we start to get into the honest conversations about could we be going lower. This is the 2-week chart, everybody. It does not have bullish divergence. It does not have bullish MACD. That MACD just crossed bearish last week. And now we have confirmed with this recent close, we have confirmed a bearish reversal, bearish divergence, bearish momentum, and now bearish money flow, okay? Doesn't guarantee we have to make this dip, but guess where that target is coming in at? This isn't a bear market. This is just a lower low here. 74,000 at the top, 65,000 at the bottom, okay? This is where it starts to get very real. This is where we have to start being very honest with ourselves and saying, you know what? There absolutely is a chance that what we're not seeing right now, what we're not seeing is the bottom coming in. I'm looking at that 2-weekly chart and I'm saying, man, the evidence right here suggesting 73, 74, come back and hit the top of the highs in March, potentially come back and hit the tops of where we were back in November of 2021. It's really playing out as a potential that you should not be ignoring. I told a lot of people in our VIP trading, I bought at 80K last night. I want to buy more at 77.4, but I do have a sneaky suspicion. I got another buy order coming in at 74,000. I think that there's a very good chance that ends up getting filled. Now, do we have some volatility first? Remember all those smaller time frames? They were saying we could bounce back up to 90, 94, 95 before all this. That absolutely could happen. That is a very realistic potential price action, what I just drew for you. We're bouncing here for now. We're on short-term buy signals. We come back up to 95. We get knocked on the head once again, and then we make our way down into this zone. I think that's a very real possibility that people need to prepare themselves for. Does that mean sell up here? Well, I'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Let's move into the massive problem that I see developing right now. And that's going to take us all the way to the monthly chart. Now, to be fair, Bitcoin's monthly chart should only be taken with a grain of salt because when you look at the monthly chart and you go back to how long Bitcoin's been around, it hasn't had a lot of time on the monthly chart. Let me go ahead and fix that real quick. I tell everybody I want to see a minimum on candle charts. I like to see minimum of 200, but realistically, I love seeing 500 to 1,000. And you can see here, we've only gotten 180 candles on the monthly chart for Bitcoin. So sometimes the technical analysis on Bitcoin on the monthly chart can be a little misleading. It's not giving you a complete picture. That being said, there are people that are looking at it and making investment decisions off of it. So I have to show it to you so that you're aware of what is happening. Now, the monthly candle closes, not necessarily scaring me all the way around. What is giving me some pause here is the fact that we are very close to getting bearish MACD. We're very close to getting a bearish sell signal where we had bearish divergence. We have these bearish reversals. We have negative momentum. And at the moment, if the monthly candle closes low, like if we can't bounce back up, and I don't know where the exact number is, I'm going to guess it's somewhere in the 90K region. If we don't close the monthly candle back above 90K, you can see right now, we had a long time before this confirms, but right now the money flow is negative. Right? If Bitcoin bounces back up, this money flow will flow back to the upside, right? This is a very movable money flow. It's gonna fluctuate depending on where Bitcoin's price is. But the overall take is if Bitcoin closes at 82,000 or 83,000, right? We're hovering in that area. We have gotten ourselves into a monthly sell signal. That would bring the price all the way down here. High end, 62,000. Low end down here towards 50,000. I think other charts have it somewhere closer towards 45. What's the overall point here? The overall point is that this chart right now is not necessarily looking good. And if I was a type of trader who did not listen to the news, who did not look at sentiment, who did not try to use a lot of different supporting evidence to make my investment decisions, I would look at this and say, guys, I feel very confident about us coming back down towards 60K at least, if not even lower with all these signals, right? If we end up crossing below there, we would go a lot deeper. Again, a bear market. I would say, like, to me, and I know this sounds low, if we lose the monthly smart trail, we're close to the bottom of the bear market, but that is the absolute evidence we are definitely in a bear market. You can see if you go back to 20, that big dip over the summer, it came and tested the smart trail. It came and bounced right off of it, and then it continued to the upside. Well, what I'm seeing right now, again, this isn't for sure. I'm not telling you 100% that Bitcoin is headed down to 60,000, but I'll tell you, if the monthly chart cannot bounce back up and turn itself white again, if we cannot get this money flow to tick back up, all of a sudden, 60K on Bitcoin is looking very likely. Now, again, remember, the monthly chart is a chart that you should take with a grain of salt because there's only so many candles. Here's where the problem gets with the monthly chart. I want to go over and take you into the stocks world and take a look at the S&P 500. The S&P 500's monthly chart is not looking good, ladies and gentlemen. It's not an end of the world, but you can see here it looks like that MACD is about to cross bearish. The RSI clearly in a triple bearish divergence where we have 3 consecutive lower high peaks, all the same while we have those same peaks going to the upside. It's not doing anything yet, but you can see here red reversal, bearish momentum, and that money flow is flirting with the concept of turning bearish once again. If that were to happen, we would watch the stock market. I don't think you drop too much below it. I think you bounce down to it, but we would watch the stock market plunge even further, another 12 to potentially 15% back down below 5,000 here on the S&P 500. Would that carry crypto down with it? I'm not 100% certain, but what I'm telling you right now is the stock market is overloaded. You did see back in, guess where this was, guys? 2022, when we got this bearish divergence right here. Again, lower highs, but higher highs. You did see the stock market regroup and pull back roughly 27%. Do we have to pull back 27% again? Not necessarily, but I do think a healthier pullback than where we currently are is like somewhere in the world of what, 6%, 7%. I think 6 to 7% is not far enough for the stock market at this point. I wouldn't be surprised to see the S&P 500 fall just a little bit lower based off of what I'm seeing on these charts. Some people are going to say, hey, could QE straighten this up? Well, historically, guys, for the stock market, while QE ends up being a longer-term bullish move, sometimes when QE comes back, you do see a little bit of a crash in the stock market as people reassess things. What is this usually signaling? It's usually signaling that the big boys, the whales, the composite man, they want to buy when there's blood. They want to buy when there's, a lot of chaos. And so they help that chaos along by selling things off, and then they get to buy the dip, and then it takes off to the upside. It's really crazy when you take a look on this monthly chart and you zoom out. I always tell people, zoom out before you freak out. With the exception of right here between pretty much 2000 and then again when we finally blasted through into 2013, that was a very confusing part of the stock market where there's a lot of hesitancy. We didn't see a brand new high for 13 years. Other than that, you can see the stock market is pretty aggressively bullish. We had a nice little Great Depression way back in here. That of course had a nice collapse. But other than the Great Depression and the confusing 2000 to 2013 chaos, the S&P 500 is a very bullish looking chart. I expect that to continue. By the time you actually say when this pullback finishes, it'll be, like I said, another blip on the radar. No one would look at this. No one will look at this right here and say, oh, that's a terrible looking chart. That's ugly. No, that looks very small, but it was a bear market. It was a period where people lost a lot of money. That was, again, in 2022. People need to be prepared for it. Now, I say all this right now to you guys, and you're probably walking away from this thinking, all right, is Tim saying the bear market is here? Is Tim saying that it's all over? That's not what I'm saying. I do think that there's going to be a decision point that comes in when we rally back up towards 90K. Again, a lot of evidence on that daily and 2-daily chart. Even the weekly chart would suggest that a move back up to 90K is on the table. Again, we have bullish divergence. We have buy signals coming in on those larger time frames. They're just capping us in this area back towards $90,000, $94,000. If we can break through, hallelujah, bull market back on. It turns out this was all a bear trap. If we reject and start to come back down, I do believe a lower position is coming in. And that's because when I come out to the 2-weekly and I come out to the monthly, I can't ignore those levels of support down below with the heavy pressure that is with them. Okay. That being said, why am I necessarily not convinced that these have to happen? What, like, if I knew this was going to happen, let's say I was a perfect predictor of this, and I could predict with you perfectly that Bitcoin's going to rally to 94,000 and then crash back down to 60,000, right? Of course, I would sell everything at 90,000, 94,000, and then buy it all back up to 60,000. I'm not a perfect predictor. I've never claimed to be a perfect predictor. I try to trade probabilities, but because of the probabilities going on right now with all of the chaos, and I'm about to make it even more confusing for you because we're going to get into the news here and all the things happening right now that are keeping me bullish, I'm maintaining this position of saying I'm going to hodl and buy the dips, but I will prepare myself for where those dips could be. Okay. Let's get into some details on the charts and then in the news as to why I'm not necessarily freaking out, even with these technicals. I want to go back over to the stock charts here for a second, and I want to show you Amazon. And this will make more sense here in a second, but I want to show you Amazon because, again, people are freaking out right now about sell signals and bearish divergence. Take a look at the Amazon chart back in here. So anyone who doesn't know about Amazon, it launched, originally sold books. They had this big crash in 2000 and 2001, right? The price of Amazon collapsed 90-something%. Most people thought it was dead. The only people buying Amazon stock down here was Jeff Bezos and a couple of his close friends and family members. But take a look, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at what Amazon looked like over the next all the way to now, right? From 2001 all the way to now. We had a little bit of that bear market in 2022, but take a look at those red lines on the charts. You guys see those? That is, Amazon lived in a constant, never-ending, even through 2008, bearish divergence out here on the monthly chart. But notice it has always put in a higher high and a higher low. Even the 2022 bear market simply double bottomed on some lows from 2020. Okay. You have not seen a lower low on Amazon since it took off back here in 01 and has taken over the world as one of the largest companies, one of the most desired companies in the world. Why? Because the innovation and technology and what it delivered was just overwhelmingly bullish. What's my point here? Are we potentially heading for a recession? Maybe. Is the economy in trouble? Maybe. Is the stock market in trouble? Maybe. But Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are the future storages of wealth. How we're going to do things technologically to save information and produce and exchange money back and forth. There is a world, we've always known this. Is this the time we're going to see it maybe play out? There's always been this thing that says that at some point the stock market and Bitcoin will diverge. We trade very similarly. They trade right now very similarly, but eventually Bitcoin and crypto will not have to just follow the stock market to a T. And there will be times where the stock market's rallying, but Bitcoin's falling. And there will be times where the stock market's falling, but Bitcoin and crypto are rallying. Why? Because the technology will take off. And right now you can see Bitcoin already is in a nonstop higher high and higher low. I do not see Bitcoin dropping back down below 15. In fact, again, I told you guys earlier, I think there's a chance 60. I don't think Bitcoin's dropping back below 50K. Okay? That's my personal opinion. I know a lot of people are going to talk about 30 and 20 and 15, and I hear bears talking about 10,000, but I think that that monthly support level is going to be very, very significant. I think the lowest we get there is 50. But I want to just show you that comparison on Amazon to show you when you're looking at an asset that is taking over with massive adoption and is going crazy, even in bear markets, the chart remains looking bullish with higher highs and higher lows. So yes, you're going to hear a lot of people out there screaming bearish divergence, bearish divergence, bearish divergence. And you know what I say? If you just buy and hold long-term, and this is the emerging asset class, and it's going to be ridiculously crazy, that's going to be very bullish. That's going to be the winning route for the long-term position of your portfolio. Now, the markets are open right now. Bitcoin kind of hovering. We're going to keep an eye on Bitcoin's price as we go through it, but it's time to get into some details, some news. I'm going to leave it on the chart until I have something to show you. We are bearish right now. The sentiment is at a very, very low 20 point on the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, despite the fact that we just passed here in the United States a Bitcoin strategic reserve. We just got this approved. Now, why are people being so bearish right now? Because a lot of people were expecting that Trump was going to come out and say he's going to be buying more Bitcoin, which, by the way, he will be buying more Bitcoin eventually. But for right now, all he's doing is using the current amount of Bitcoin that's in the government. All right, we are getting a little drop here on Bitcoin, so we're going to be balancing back and forth here between my talking points and what's happening on the charts. But I'll keep you right there when we look at this. So the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, is it everything that people were hoping for right now? No. But if you had told me back in 2022 that we would have a president and a government that would be using Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin as a strategic reserve, we would have skyrocketed in price on that news. It's just that people are a little bit short-sighted. They want to see things in gains immediately, and so they're disappointed that we haven't taken off to new all-time highs with this news. But this news is extremely bullish. The government of the United States refusing to sell their Bitcoin. I know it'd be cool if they bought more, but guys, they have billions of dollars of Bitcoin, hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. That is bullish that they have decided they're not going to sell a single Satoshi. Be patient with it. Coinbase, here we go. We got to get to an article here. Coinbase just announced that they're going to be hiring 1,000 new employees because of these U.S. policy shifts in their favor. Why would Coinbase need to hire brand new people? Because they understand if they're going to exist in the future, if they're going to make it, they're going to have to hire a massive, massive new wave of retail adoption and people buying in. So when do you see companies massively hiring as people are saying we're walking into a grave recession that's going to ruin a market, ruin an entire thing? I see the comment there, Steady Bug. Crypto just isn't the investment it once was. I completely disagree. I actually agree with the sentiment, but I think I disagree with the way you're going. Crypto just isn't the same investment it once was because it's only going to get better. It's only become bigger. It was awesome that we had a lot of retail investors in before, but with the onslaught, with the crazy new money that's going to come in from institutions, it is going to change all for the better. And Coinbase is preparing for that. Really quickly, we had that super chat from David Cake says low is in. It has been in. We'll see you at 120K in May. David Cakes, I hope you're right. Again, that 2-weekly chart and monthly chart, though, are just what's giving me a little pause on saying for certain that the bottom is in. But I would love for that to be in. Thank you for the super chat. Let me continue here. This is a bullish article, guys, and it's not an opinion piece. It's not a misdirection piece. This is Coinbase saying we are bullish on where crypto is going. We want to maintain our status of at least being the number one exchange in the United States, but they want to be the number one exchange in the world. They're hiring while a lot of other people are laying people off. There's a lot of companies right now in the world laying people off. They're hiring because they see what is coming down the road. They just realize you have to be patient. What else is happening later this year? Quantitative easing is going to come later this year. Quantitative easing absolutely is going to come later this year with everything that we are seeing. In fact, let me go ahead and pull up. Let's pull up and look at how the economic data is looking here today. But we are watching a lot of pressure be put, whether you want to call it on purpose, whether you think Trump's team is purposely pressuring Jerome Powell and the Fed to cut rates. But the unemployment scares, the way things are going in the economy, they are going to have to turn all of that back on. I'm going to show you a chart here in a second. Also, another bullish reason when it comes to money supply. But right now, we're not expecting a rate cut in May, and we're not expecting one in March or May. But we are potentially expecting one. Let's go off this picture here. We are back to heavily expecting QE by June of this year. This right here, this 14.2%, that is the percentage saying we're going to stay paused in the CME futures. 56% saying 25, 28% saying 50. 0.8 or 1% saying 75. I don't think we're going to get there. I think June, we probably get into the 4 to 4.25, a 25 basis point cut. But that is quantitative easing right in there, predicted with a 86% probability that QE is going to be coming by June. By December, the heavy predictions at the moment, the heaviest predictions say that we're going to be down at 350 to 375. That would be a 75 basis point cut from here. That means 3 different cuts. That would be absolutely bullish. There's some people predicting even lower, but 33%, the highest amount, is predicting we will have 3 cuts or more. Only roughly about 30% of the predictions, the probabilities are saying that we will not have 3 cuts. Only 1% saying we'll still be paused. Only 7.5% say we only have 1 cut. Only 22% saying we'll only have 2 cuts. The majority are saying 3 or more, right? So this is extremely bullish for the markets down the road as QE looks like an almost certainty. But now let's move into some other things. The other reasons why I'm bullish. Again, I'm looking at those charts and I have some concerns, but I'm looking at the news and the sentiment, and I'm looking at the things coming down the road. And if I can keep my patience going, these are things that should absolutely keep me excited about the crypto markets. This coming in from Merlin the Trader. But M2, you guys know what M2 is? It's the M2 money supply. I tweeted about this the other day. People are not ready for the supply shock that's going to come. I'm going to talk about it more in another tweet as well. But the M2 leads Bitcoin flows perfectly. Historically, and you guys see it on the chart, historically, Bitcoin price lags the M2 money supply by 3 months. Okay? M2 has been declining since December, and Bitcoin followed. Now M2 is turning up. If history repeats, Bitcoin's next move is up. Let me full screen this and get off my face off it so you guys can see here. Look at that similarity. The green is the M2 supply. The blue is the price of Bitcoin. Again, could we come back down? This actually was put out before. It is showing a move down here towards 80K, looks likely. And again, I'm not saying that we can't go lower because, again, the charts are saying 70, potentially 60 are on the table. But if this continues to be true, if the M2 money supply leading Bitcoin darn near perfectly continues to be true, look what it's done here over the last couple of months. And look what the projection would be, that we had to bounce down here around 80, and then we're following it back to the upside. All right, this chart makes it very hard for you to want to sell your Bitcoin or your cryptocurrency. It doesn't guarantee it. Obviously, it's possible that this is where we diverge and Bitcoin keeps dropping and the M2 money supply just keeps going up. But historically, these things trade extremely together. Okay, let's talk about the supply shock coming in here. A tweet over here from Quentin says the U.S. is creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Meanwhile, exchange reserves are in a free fall. Now, you might be saying, Tim, that's scary, but this is a chart from Crypto Quant, so anyone can go look at this right now. I just found in a tweet. Bitcoin is at a low, a crazy low on exchange reserves. What does this mean, though, ladies and gentlemen? CZ actually commented on a tweet that posted this, and that what he said was like, isn't people moving their money off exchanges a bullish thing? Guys, right now, exchanges do not have a lot of Bitcoin on their exchange whatsoever. What does that mean? Well, if they're going to be able to sell more Bitcoin to people, they're going to have to acquire it somehow, some way. This is what I was talking about with my tweet a couple days ago about a supply shock. A supply shock is where there's not a lot of supply, but the demand starts coming back. There's not a lot of heavy demand right now, but the demand, I do believe, is coming back. I'll talk more about that here in a little bit. When the demand comes back and the supply is this low, ladies and gentlemen, answer in chat, what happens when the demand outweighs the supply? What happens to the price action of whatever asset we're talking about there? I'll answer it for you. The price goes up. People are freaking out because they think this chart looks bad. This is actually a very beautiful looking chart. A very beautiful looking chart that means that price should be going back to the upside here very, very soon. But what else? What else do we need to know about? We need to know also that there are trillions of dollars of institutional money waiting on the sidelines. There's a newscast a couple months back that talked about this, where yes, retail is freaking out. A lot of retail are worried about what the future looks like in the economy, but institutions have been preparing for this. Institutions are sitting on a massive, whopping amount of cash. And with BlackRock and others still telling people that this Bitcoin thing is a amazing investment, it's the future gold, it's a value proposition the world has never seen before. We're waiting on the amount of regulation to come true, and we're waiting on the right price action to come true. And there are trillions of dollars over the next 10 years that want to pour into Bitcoin for long-term strategic reserve, just even for their businesses or their own personal wealth. These are reasons that I am maintaining long-term bullish price predictions on cryptocurrency. Is it possible it takes a little bit longer to play out than some of the projections we've made before? Absolutely. And again, kind of the things that I'm talking to you guys right now, again, I am expecting a short-term rally and then a decision point back up here towards 93, 94,000. If we start to fall back down, guys, we could fall back down to 70 or 60K in the summer, right? Before QE happens, maybe like April, May area, which I guess that's only like a month and some change away. So it's not crazy to say that could happen. But these are all things that absolutely could happen. Again, the monthly chart does have a potential sell sign on the way. It is saying 60,000 is a very interesting spot to keep an eye on. That doesn't change the long-term trajectory of where Bitcoin and crypto are going in the future. And I'll end with this, and I'll kind of answer some questions and probably call today's show a wrap-up. I know we went through a whole lot today. I know my camera was blurry. Thank you to every single one of you guys who have stuck around. Hopefully my Wi-Fi fixes up by this afternoon. The live show is good for 3 p.m. But go back to the old times in Bitcoin. Go back to price action way back here. I know that some of you who have bought maybe around 70K, or some of you bought back up here towards 90. Hopefully not many of you bought up at 100,000, or 109,000, but a lot of you guys are probably feeling like idiots for continuing to hold your cryptocurrency. I want to encourage you why that's not the case. Some people felt like idiots buying back in November of 2021. And for a while, they felt, and it looked like they very much were an idiot. But right now, not a single person who bought back in November of 2021 is in loss on that holding. If they didn't sell it, they're still in profit. And I know we're close back down to those levels, but stick with me as I make this point. A lot of people felt like idiots buying Bitcoin back here in June of 2019, around 11,600, 12,000. And for a couple of months, for a little while, they looked like they were idiots. How many of you wish you could buy $12,000 Bitcoin right now? The people that bought at 20,000 back in December of 2017, they felt like idiots for a long time. They weren't in profit again for almost 3 years. More than 3 years. Okay. How many of you wish that you could have bought Bitcoin at $19,000, $20,000? And yet for a while, that person felt like an idiot. How many of you wish you could have bought back here at $1,000? And yet for years, People that bought in December 2013 felt like an idiot. But right now, of course, they're massively wealthy. And of course, I keep going back. How many people felt like an idiot in June 11 when they bought at $31 and the price crashed? What's my overall point? Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen, will continue to go up and to the right over the long-term trajectory. What we're not certain about right now is where the bottom will be. Did we just bottom last night? Some of you are going to say we just bottomed last night. Are we going to bottom back down around 74,000? Some of you believe we're going to bottom at 74,000. Some of you believe we're going to bottom at 60,000. Some of you believe that maybe 40, 30. Some of you maybe 10. I think there's people out there, there's still bears out there that say $10,000. I don't know where we're going to bottom, ladies and gentlemen. I can look at the charts. I can look at different support levels where it looks like there will be buying pressure, but I can't predict with 100% certainty where we will bottom. But you know what I can look at and say with a high probability? In the next 10 years, Bitcoin will still be setting higher highs and higher lows as people fly towards it for actual, real value proposition. And even people that bought at $109,000 that they hold will look like they're brilliant in the next 10 years. The same way that 10 years ago today, anyone who bought in 2015 somewhere in the world of between 1,000 and 200 look brilliant if they have continued to hold. I encourage you guys to continue to hodl your cryptocurrency if you can afford to, right? We'll go back here in my final advice. I am going to hold my crypto. I am going to hold it whether we drop to 70 or 60 or 50. Guys, I'll hold it if we drop to 10,000. I don't think we will, but I will hold it if we drop to 10,000 because I believe in the long-term trajectory of Bitcoin, of cryptocurrency. Now, I might be consolidating some of my altcoins. I probably will still hold like 9 of them. I'll probably talk about that in a different video later this week, what those coins would be, what my ultimate consolidation portfolio would look like. I might consolidate my altcoins, but I have not invested a single penny more than I can afford to lose in crypto. If I lose it, yeah, that's a lot of money I will lose, but I will continue to pay my bills. I will continue to make things work. I will continue to be okay. If you can't say that, I see even maybe some people in chat right now saying, I can't do that, Tim. I'm overinvested right now. I cannot hold on for a massive bear market. Then I would tell you, you need to go ahead and take some profit. Should you wait for 90K? Should you take it now? I can't answer that question for you. You have to continue to look for that. I think there's a good probability we bounce to 90K before another drop. But if you are overinvested in cryptocurrency, you've made a massive mistake. Fix that mistake. Prepare yourself for a long-term bullish price action, but understand that the volatility of crypto is still here and will be here for quite a while. Do not overinvest. Do not over-leverage. Make sure you're investing wisely. That being said, we very well could have bottomed out, and that's why I'm not going to sell. And I'm going to keep buying every single time I see my new levels. I told you again, I'm going to buy at 77.4. I'm going to buy at 74,000. I'm going to buy at 70,000. I'm going to buy at 65,000. If I don't get down there, that's fine. No harm, no foul. But I will be buying and DCAing in my long-term moves. All the while, guess what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to have a different portfolio trading where I am still making money trading and shorting the markets when it's right to short it and longing the markets when it's right to long it. What I think we're in a spot for right now, I think that a temporary long back up towards 90K is absolutely on the table. The question is going to be, though, I think that 94, 95 area, I think another short position to hedge your positions is not going to be a bad decision. I'll have a tight stop loss, but my plan, I'll go and highlight it for you. I plan on longing back up towards 90. And then I plan on shorting back around 94, 95. I want to short and probably look for a move back down, at least back down towards 77,000. But again, as I told you, with this 2 weekly smart trail coming in, I'm starting to feel very, like I would put a more than 50% probability right now in my predictions that 74,000 ends up getting hit. And then that could potentially be the bottom based on what I'm seeing on the charts. Look, guys, charts change all the time. News changes all the time. I will continue to evolve my opinions and my financial decision-making. So make sure to stick around with the channel for the long term so you stay up to date on what I'm going to do. But I urge you to continue to think for yourself. People in chat who disagree with me, people in chat who think this is a bear market, good, sell everything if that's what you think you should do. I'm not here to give you financial advice. But I am here to help people understand that if you're not certain about what's happening next, and that's the boat I'm in, right? If you don't know for certain that we're entering a long-term bear market, the best strategy is to hodl, hodl, hodl. And I just showed you why historically, even though you might be in loss for years at a time, long-term hodling is the number one investment strategy in crypto. And yes, by the way, guys, everything to this point has been retail investment. Now that we're entering the age of institutional adoption, this chart will only get more explosive to the upside. $1 million Bitcoin, I think, comes within, if not before, the next 10 years. That is my expectation. That's why I'm going to continue to hodl on. Let's enter some questions really quickly before I let you guys go. Thank you again for sticking around, everybody. I know my camera quality sucked. Hopefully my audio was good the whole time. Wi-Fi in the area. I have a storm going on here in North Georgia. Hopefully that remedies and everything's good again this afternoon. But let me answer a couple questions and we'll kind of move on. Yeah, he said he bug. If YouTubers stop the 5x to 30x tier list, it might stop people from always getting wrecked. Fair enough. I mean, I'm going to continue to make predictions based off of what I think is feasible because of the future of cryptocurrency. But at the same time, Steady Bug, I think you're right. I think a lot of people overinvest. And that's something I think, I feel like we have done a good job of doing it, but maybe we need to do it even more so. In every single video, I'm going to be very clear from here on out, guys, that while I remain bullish and I'm going to continue to invest and I'm going to expect some of these coins that I hold to, in the rest of this bull market, which will probably extend into 2026, if not into 2027, to 10x, 15x, I'm not going to invest a single penny more than I can afford to lose. I'm going to imagine that every dollar I invest, it might turn to zero. And I need to mentally prepare myself for that before I invest that penny. That being said, as I've watched over my last 5 years of being invested in the space, as I've watched by studying the history of not even the crypto markets, but the markets in general, the dollar sucks, people. The dollar is terrible. Don't overinvest in the dollar. Get invested in something that's newer technology, newer flight to quality. That is Bitcoin. That is crypto. Crypto is the future of how money exchanges. Make sure you're choosing the right coins. Make sure you're choosing the legitimate projects, not just jumping into every other meme coin you see just because it might do 100x in 24 hours. Invest wisely. Put your money in the right places, but understand that every single investment technically is a risk. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Let's see here. $1 million Bitcoin is programmed in. Say it, bro. I don't like the phrase "it's programmed in." I think it's very unlikely it doesn't get to 1 million. And again, some people are like, "Oh, it'll get to 1 million by like 2040 or something." I think the earliest window I don't see Bitcoin getting to 1 million before 2030, right? But I think around 2030 to 2035 is the window we see $1 million Bitcoin. Which, by the way, guys, is only like a little more than a 10x from here, right? We're not talking about like a 100x or anything, but it's still good, obviously. Anyone who can 10x their money is great. Machines of time. I love how bearish people are. I'm bullish. We have the best fundamentals in years. People must know that. And that's what I'm getting at here, guys. Like the charts, the shorter term charts and middle charts are bullish. That 2 weekly and monthly chart, the only thing scaring me, but again, the monthly chart, you have to take it with a grain of salt because Bitcoin's not that old on the monthly chart. But yes, the news coming out about adoption. America has a strategic reserve. China and countries in the Middle East are not far behind of getting a strategic reserve. The money supply is going back up. We're about to enter into quantitative easing. I think it's crazy. Again, the amount of hysteria and fear that bears are talking with right now, we have not seen since Bitcoin's price was like $20,000 to $15,000. And yet right now we're still technically above 80K and people are acting the exact same way. It's absolutely baffling to me how people can be so bearish. And by the way, I want to make sure I'm clear here. I don't make perfect predictions, right? I'll tell you guys some calls that I made that I never met things perfectly. When we broke up here, I thought we were going to reject at 69,000, right? I told people, don't be surprised to see a 20 to 30% pullback in February, in March, after we double top at all-time highs. What happened? We went a little higher. We went to 74,000. But I told you guys 20 to 30%. Guess how far back Bitcoin ended up pulling? Okay, 33%. So I missed it. Went a little lower than I thought, right? I told you guys when we got to 100K that I thought that there would be a good sell-off happening. Okay. It ended up going to 109, right? I didn't get the top perfectly. The sell-off is happening right now. And even though I talked myself out of that sell-off for a little while, that's where I'm definitely not perfect, is that and those people here in chat know this is true. So, you can say I'm making up, but our OGs know it. I said a 20 to 30% pullback at 100K was more than likely needed. What changed was all the news that came out making me think that 90K would hold. I was wrong, right? I was wrong. And we went down below 90K. It turns out if I stuck with my gut that I had back in November, I would have been right. But you know what? I'm not perfect. So I don't want to say what I'm about to say as if I'm perfect and other people are not perfect, right? I want to set the stage for everybody makes mistakes when they're trying to predict what's happening. Don't blame or try to just blindly follow YouTubers as your investment strategy. Listen to what they're teaching and learn how to think for yourself and what you think is going to happen. But right now on X, I'm just seeing an overwhelming amount of bears get very boisterous, very out there. They're laying on their drums that we told you guys a bear market's coming. We told you. The Bitcoin price, by the way, is still at 80K, right? We're not now at 81.5, right? So we're dropping here a little bit, but they're banging on their drums. Told you. I can't say this is all of them, right? I don't follow every single bear account out there, but I know of like 3, and I'm not going to say their names, so I'm not going to do them that disservice, and because I respect their work in terms of the thought they put into their content. I just disagree with them. But I can think of 3 people on X saying, I told you so, who I also remember hearing we would never get above 30K in this bull market, that we were heading down to 3K. And then when we broke 30K, they said we would never get back up to all-time highs. Maybe we'd get up here towards 44, 45, and then we'd reject. And then they told us back here, and we barely got above 4 all-time highs. They said that was it. This is a fake out. That's the bear market. That's the bull market top. We're entering a bear market. And they were telling us right in here. They told us back here in September 2023, this guy's bear market's still around. They told us right here in July, bear market's here. We'll never get back to 100K. 100K is not coming for a long, long time. Guys, the same people saying, I told you so, probably also told you that this was the top back in July of 2023. They probably told you this was the top in March 2024. And now they're saying this is the top here in January 2025. Now, broken clocks are right twice a day, right? They could be right. I don't think they are. I heavily disagree. But I say all that to say anyone who's listening to super bears right now, you're reading on X, you're watching YouTube, and these people are saying, I told you guys, bear market's coming. Just realize there's not a single human being on this planet that 100% knows where the markets are going. Some people have more power and more control, but what we're watching kind of play out even right now that's keeping me so bullish is all of the blood in the streets, all of the chaos, all the retail fear, and yet Bitcoin is still at $80,000. Again, I think it's possible to go down to 73, 60K, right? I'm saying that's possible, but my overall point is, to me, I just don't see a world in which, with the U.S. government holding Bitcoin long-term, with the Chinese and several other countries looking to buy Bitcoin long-term, with Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy continue to buy and hold long-term. Guys, there's only so far down we can go before the only people holding are the people that would never sell in the first place. And I think that number and those details are a lot higher than these bears are aware of. There's so much bullish pressure keeping this market up. Even if we drop down to 60K, that's still a higher low in a higher high and higher low trajectory. I encourage you guys, continue to think for yourself. Continue to do your own research. Do not blindly listen to any influencer. Don't listen to me blindly. Don't listen to bears blindly. Don't listen to anyone else who's bullish or bearish blindly. Take in the information that they present to you. Take in the evidence. Today, I've given you both evidence for a bull run and a bear market. Take in the evidence, weigh the odds, create your probabilities, create your plan. I'm going to buy it this, and this. I'm going to sell it this, and this. Make that plan now so that nothing that happens in the future surprises you. That's the trajectory of what I'm going to be doing in the future, and I suggest you guys do as well. That being said, I'm going to have to run. I have a meeting here at 10 a.m. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with me for today's morning stream and all the chaos of my camera. Smash that like button on your way out. Join our free Discord. If you guys want to keep talking crypto, give your takes, whether you're bullish or bearish, Come give your takes. We all benefit from hearing people's opinions. Join our free Discord right now. Link in the description down below. If you want to use this to trade using Luxago, I've been using it throughout the stream. Check out the Luxago link down below. If you're a bear, short the markets. If you're a bull, long the markets. But these patterns, these prediction tools have been amazing at keeping my trading portfolio profitable, even if my long-term bag is a little down right now. With that said, guys, I'll see you today at 3 p.m. and hopefully you see me clearly. Adios.